the identifier and inode deal. If we just click on one of these things, now that we put that little macro that allows content contributors, if they're looking at a VTL that they don't have any confused permissions over because it lives in a completely different folder and that folder has its own permissions, or what we even have as a best practice here is we put all our VTL files in the application directory where we're never going to permission users. And like I said, I think in the previous training, you could even put all of your VTL files in a global VTL completely separate hosts if you're really, paranoid about somebody accidentally permissioning something on the host that you're on. And you can do it that way as well. For reusable code for multiple sites, pretty much everybody does this. That way you don't have to write the same code twice for two different hosts that have very, very similar pulls. So going back to the movie listing page, I'm going to click on edit on the very first movie. And then if I look at the history here, this is Leon the Professional. Here is the identifier, which identifies all of the content, every language version, every change that's ever been made, the complete history of all the content. And then here is the inode version for every change. And it's really important if you ever need to do something like this that I just did for UPS. Hopefully it's still up. And this is all my code and my content, so it's not anything proprietary or for them or breaking any rule of disclosure or anything like that. So if I come over here, I'll show you what you can do with that inode identifier thing. Yeah, it's got a horrible they messed up my login page. Okay, so here I'm logging into that site, and if I come here to standards request form, I can put in a new request form via API. It's showing me this because the Tiny MCE plugin, the free runs out. I put in a free front-end Tiny MCE editor so that on their forms, they wanted everything controlled through an intranet type of example. And so I created this little form here. I also installed a little manual. This is all proof of concept type stuff. No content that's theirs or anything like that. This is just all demo content. But I click on a specific form. You can do all sorts of things like I want to block off if my content is in the middle of a workflow. I'll say it's ineditable. So if we click on one of these guys, it's pending approval. If we click on one that's green checkbox, that means it's already gone through the approval process. It's already been published, but then maybe you need to come back later and edit this document. So I click on it, and then that shows me different things. It respects permissions and only shows the click here to update if that user has permissions, which I do because I'm logged in as admin. And then if we go to the what's changed, okay. Let me pick a better doc that's got a lot of change history. What's changed? Okay, so here, what I'm doing via REST API, I'm passing the ID, and then via REST services, I'm grabbing the ID, and then what am I showing under here? Can anybody guess what I'm iterating over to be able to find out every single change version? That's right, the inode. See, because the identifier that I'm passing up here, that we were just looking at over here, right? The identifier I'm passing in the URL then gives me access to every single inode version, right? So what I'm doing, because they specifically had a request for this, is I pass the ID, and then here I'm showing every single inode version and then getting everything about the content at every single step, when it was changed, who it was changed by, etc., etc. Then down here, I'm doing a little diff between the previous version and the latest version, and then highlighting and striking through any changes that were made so they can do a side-by-side look at any step. So now I can step here and click on this. That triggers the inode, right? I'm passing the inode this time. And then that's showing that previous version where a lot of changes were made in the latest version, right? So you can do very powerful things with that little inode and identifier type of pull. That makes sense?